as a data science manager here at Walmart. Well, not really data science. Like I have some parts that are data science and some reporting, but I'm very happy to be here, and I think it's really cool that we can spend some time talking about data science in real life, because it's I think it's a very exciting subject.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait to hear from you about your experience. So Eric, you want to add something to my brief introduction?
No, I think it's fine. Well, in Coppel, it's well, we are split in divisions. So my division is called Omnichannel, and there we have 4 pillars: e-commerce. The second one is new clients. Then we have marketplace, and then we have something called Coppel Pay. And basically, we analyze all the data and we create machine learning models using the data, well, transactions related to e-commerce and to the rest of these 4 pillars.
Great. I'm going to stop sharing so you can have a more better view, I guess. That way gives you a better view. So thank you for joining us, Eric. So I'm going to start the conversation to make it slightly like how to say, natural. Okay, then you can add anything on that. So the first thing I want you to talk about is the term of data scientist. Okay, I want you to tell me how do you see it? Because what I understand is a little bit vague term. Okay, it consists anyone maybe that playing around with data. I don't know, doing quantitative works can be called like data scientist. So now we have different terms. So I want you to just tell me a little bit about how do you define a data scientist? Any one of you can start. Felipe, maybe?
Sure. So I think the data scientist is a really overhyped term at the moment. So, you know, the something that I've noticed is that, you know, if as you said, you do something that involves, you know, computer science, maybe some statistics and some mathematics, you're in the realm of data scientists, right? But it's really it's really not clear where a data scientist is, right? And you know, there's a variety of things that you can do, and a variety of models. But what I would say is, if you know something about data, you know, maybe some statistics and a few models, and you could qualify as a data scientist. Of course, you know, there are varying opinions on this, but yeah, I think that's it more or less.
Thank you for your insight. Eric, you want to?
Yes.
How do you see it?
Yes, I completely agree with Felipe. The way I see it is that it's the data science I see like a part of artificial intelligence area. And it's okay. So we have data science. We have I split it in this way. We have artificial intelligence. We have in split in different like areas. Like you can focus on data science. You can focus on computer vision. You can focus on evolutionary algorithms. You can focus on expert systems. So even sometimes you can mix all of these areas, but I think it's you can also separate these areas. So in going forward with data science, I see like it's like you need to handle 3 main skills. The first one is programming skills. The second one is related to statistical and probability skills, and the third one is like handle the business. You need to be, and that is sometimes that is ignored for many people, but that is as well is the same, or it has the same importance than the other one. So you cannot start like solving with machine learning and other type of skills, solving a problem if you don't know the business. So even for example, here in Coppel, we need to understand, not only handle, understand machine learning algorithms, know about data exploration, know about feature engineering, etc. You need to understand the business. You need to, in this case, as we are working in the e-commerce area, you need to understand how the process is. So you need to understand the so all the process involved in e-commerce, all the things that are related with the areas you are working on. If you are working on data science in supply chain management, you need to know all the process. If you are working for the finance area, you need to spend time knowing the area. That's very important. Okay, it's not only machine learning, it's not only mathematics, probabilistic skills. You need to understand the business.
Yeah, thank you. It's true. You really highlighted a very important point. Actually, I wanted to basically, that was included. I wanted to ask about you. So basically, yeah, that was, I wanted to ask about, for example, talking about data science, you may consider, you may be good at the statistics. Some people might be very good at software engineering, and I wanted basically later to comment on it. But talking about the business, for example, Felipe, you have several years of experience in, like 2 years experience in McKinsey & Company. It's a consulting firm. Walmart is totally different business. So how do you see that? How do you basically compare these two? I mean, working as a data scientist in Walmart, working as a data scientist in a consulting firm.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the difference between working in a firm where your client is a firm that's actually using the data science, such as a consulting firm, versus working in the actual, company that's using it, like Walmart or Coppel or whatever, right? I think the main difference is the depth that you're going to go into, because consultants are, I mean, they'll kill me if they hear me say this, but they're pretty shallow, right? Like there's only so much you can do in 8 weeks, right? Even if you work 20 hours a day, doesn't matter. There's no way you're going to get the depth that you're going to get if you work at Walmart, right? Because it's just so huge. But what I think is, is constant across industries, and I'm just not just talking about consulting and Walmart, but also, I worked for some time in Best Day and for some time in Bancomer. What's always there is what Eric has been emphasizing, right? The most important thing is what you're giving to the world or to the company, right? If your model is the coolest thing, but it doesn't solve anything, or it doesn't give you money, or it doesn't save, spare you some time or something, then it doesn't really matter. And for myself, I studied applied mathematics, and I really I love the beauty of it, of mathematics and statistics, and I think it's cool. And when I was younger, I was very focused on that part, but then I realized, you know what, if you can solve it with an average, why do deep learning, right? Sometimes you need to do deep learning and it's cool, and if you're into that, it's fine. But when you're in business, what matters is that you deliver results fast and for a low amount of effort, right? So you just have to have a wide array of tools and know to use each one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with you about sometimes we overthink and we think a little bit complicated. We go towards or through some problems that we don't need really to go. We can do it with a simple mathematical models. So yeah, based on both your comments, I wanted basically to to ask you what do you think what makes someone's a good data scientist? For example, Eric mentioned about the business side, the stat side of it, programming side of it. So what do you think, which one is more having more weight? You being good at programming and software engineering, or you being good at the statistic?
It depends.
Depend on the business?
Yeah, and the position. So sorry, Eric. I mean, just really quickly. I mean, it depends. There are a bunch of different roles. If you're closer to business analytics, then you definitely need to go for simpler, quicker, punchier things. But you know, if you go for that route, then you will never be able to solve some computer vision problems because they just doesn't work that way. So it depends where you go. That's what I would say.
Okay, Eric? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that it depends as well how your team is organized. So, for example, in my case, so my role as data scientist lead, it's like it's most near to the client. So and it's like trying to understand the problems and then trying to create requirements for the data scientist. So if we are, well, like data scientist developer part of the team. So if you are interested more in like in that part, yeah, definitely. I think all of us, as when you start as data scientists, you need to know the first the mathematical skills, the programming skills, learning about machine learning models, how they works, and you then if you want to grow in the team, so you need to be more part of or related to the business. So trying to understand, they are, and you need to understand that they don't speak and they don't know about programming skills, they don't know about machine learning models. So you need to like trying to understand the requirements and then transform that and see which model you need to use. So what are you gonna use? Because even as Felipe is saying, it's not always creating a machine learning model or using deep learning. It's sometimes it's only data exploration, only doing some these type of things. So that's the way I see this.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with both of you. So maybe it would be a little bit good. We know exactly what you do in the company. Like, for example, Felipe is like managing a big data scientist team. So can you tell us a little bit about your daily life, like not personal life, I mean, the way you work? I mean, what do you do exactly?
So, okay, so in Walmart, I spent like a year and a half as a data science manager where I led a team of 2 other people. And we had some more data sciencey projects where we built some models, maybe some shiny dashboards and applications, things like that. But right now, I'm more focused on a lot of reporting because I mean, Walmart, just like every other big company out there, has a mishmash of systems, and the reporting's pretty bad in some areas, and it's very hard to see through everything that goes on. So, in my daily life at the moment, I'm making a reporting team more efficient. So I don't have a lot of like data science cool projects right now. I'm more focused on, let's get these numbers done with the minimum amount of manual effort, things like that. So I have to, talk with a lot of people and from the business, from my team, and lead them, right? Because I'm very technically inclined, but not everyone is. So I'm having to, implement good practices, best practices, and things like that. despite all this, I do have a few projects where we're using some simple models, but you know, what I found is you shouldn't go for the buzzwords first, right? You shouldn't go for the most advanced model first. Like if you have your reporting in order and your data is fine and everything, then you can start, you know, some machine learning, things like that. But when you honestly, you know, your systems are garbage or they just don't talk to each other, it's very, very important that you start with the simplest things first, right? Because you have the Pareto uh, effect where, you know, where you do 20% of the effort, you get 80% of the gains. So once you're already there, then you can put in more effort into a machine learning model. That 20% you can also get, but first you have to get that 80%, and it's better to just do it in a simple way. So yeah, maybe I'm not answering your question.
No, you did it actually. No, I just was curious, like, because a little bit what I'm feeling, a little bit you're looking at things. I mean, you have a lot of overlap things with Felipe and Eric, both of you, but I feel you're more like into mathematics. Eric has more like software engineering view. Of course, he mentioned
Yes,
that it's like you can basically go the simple way. So Eric, what about you? What do you do? I mean,
Sure. Actually, in Coppel, I start as data scientist first. And as data scientist, first it's like we have meetings when we are planning to start a project. So we start having meetings with the business. So probably from the PIM area, product information management team, or from a digital marketing team, etc. And then once we get the requirements, we try to write as much as possible like the business requirements. And then we have meetings with the manager of the team to validate that we are getting the correct requirements. And then we start like the data science process. So the first one is the data exploration. So we start understanding the data, understanding the values. The second one is cleaning the data. We need to remove the data that is not useful for our problem, to solve our problem, or that can cause issues on our, or if we are planning to create a model. So we need to remove the data that is not useful before that. Then we have the third step is feature engineering. So this is like very different from the previous one. Here is not, the thing here is not trying to remove columns or rows. In this case, you need to create new columns and using, I don't know, using PCA or just simple data engineering. Well, with your data engineering skills, and then the next step is select the algorithm. Then the next step is create the model, and the last step is validate the model. So that's also very, very important. So this is not like we are always working in this way. So sometimes we need to get back to the previous step. Is in data science, you will realize that it's always like a cycle. And sometimes you need to go to a previous step. Sometimes you need to go back to, I don't know, to the first step. Sometimes you need to be like testing your models in different ways. And then we deliver the solution, and we start like, again, having meetings with the business and evaluate. This is like the simple case. Sometimes this process we need to like have all this process like again and again, you know, like working in like in using the Scrum methodology or using Safe methodology. Now, as right now, well, I'm a data scientist lead, so when I am taking care of the projects, I do the projects the same way. But if I'm working as a leader, so it's more like only getting the requirements and then create the user stories for the data scientists that are gonna work on that. So basically, that's the way we work here in Coppel.
Thank you for your detailed explanation. Yeah, now I have better idea what you do. I think everyone else has a better idea. Thank you about that. So both of you moved. I mean, I have some written questions here, but when you talk, I come up with another questions. So both of you work in different companies and like different sectors, I can say. So do you feel like you need different skills moving towards like each sectors? For example, the thing is there is a like unending list of different tools that someone can use for as a data scientist. I don't know. I put some of them here like Spark, Hadoop, Kafka, Airflow, Scalding, Redshift, Hive, TensorFlow. It's like there's like an unending list of tools and like skills that we might expect some data scientists know. So and it's kind of scary, honestly, like because you cannot know all of these things at the same time. So I want you to talk about it. Like how do you feel about it? What should be that essential skills? Felipe, let's start with you.
Sure.
You work in like for example, bank like a consulting,
Yeah.
Walmart. So it's like, how do you see that?
Look, so I think there's this notion. I mean, when you look, when you see a job posted, like a data science job, a lot of them look the same, right? Like the applications look just the same. They say you need to know R Python or Java, Hive, SQL, tons of things, right? What I've found though is, I mean, to be honest, it's impossible to know everything. And when you get when I get a resume that says they know, you know, all these things and they have like 6 months worth of experience, I know they don't, right? Like there, I mean, I consider myself a smart person and there's no way that you can know all that in depth, right? Like maybe you built a query once and that's it, but you don't really, you're not really proficient in that. So what I think is one of the most important skills in data science is the ability to learn. I think that's like the most important thing, right? Like, because for example, I'm sorry to say this with you here, Mahdi, but the best way to learn data science is it's not real at school. You need to work on it and you need to take some online courses and read books and you know, take tutorials, read blogs. That's the way to go. So I think that's the most important skills. Like you should have, I think if you have like, if you are strong in one programming language, like if you know Python or R or Java or whatever, right? And then, you know, I think SQL is a must, right? Then, you know, if you know some statistics, if you've used, you know, scikit-learn and you haven't used whatever is available in R, like MLR or whatever packages, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you can get the job done with whatever tools you have. And I emphasize this a lot because, you know, in school or when you go to, you know, like a conference, they talk about the cool and sexy tools, right? But in practice, you know, I had to fight to get some, you know, to be able to install a version of R that wasn't 2 years old, things like that. Like you have your hands tied. So you need to be able to work with whatever you have. Or for example, in Bancomer, they have SAS, right? Which I really don't like. But if you're in a company that like a bank, they're very likely going to have SAS. And if you don't know SAS, you're going to have to learn SAS. And if they use R and not Python, well, you're going to have to learn R or SQL or HQL or whatever it is, right? And very often these things are not your choice, right? Like Hadoop, for example, or Spark, you know, it's usually a huge IT team that, you know, implements those things, and then you can be a user. But one second. You know, but yeah, it's not up to you what technologies are available. So you have to work with what you have. That's so learning fast and you know, be resourceful. Those are the two things I would value the most in someone. Because if, you know, I hired someone and they're like incredible with, you know, whatever tool, but then we don't have that tool, or we lose the use of that tool, and then they can't do anything, and they don't, you know, learn something else, it's of no use.
Yeah, thank you. It's exactly what I was thinking, like, because it's scary, as you say, like you see job posts, like they list tons of tools that you look and you say how someone can know all these things, or I don't know. I mean, it freaks, I guess, people out when they see this type of things. So how do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we still have this problem in the in companies in Mexico. So actually, the list of tools you mentioned, so only one is from data science. The rest of the other ones, Maddie, are for data engineering. So that's one of the problems that we have in Mexico. But the good thing is that the recruitment teams in the companies are changing, and they are realize that. So they are separating these things into roles. So, well, actually, in other countries, they are already working like that. But here in Mexico, you know, it's because the culture that, you know, I'm not gonna spend like money in one data engineering, one data science. Why I don't have a guy with the data engineering and data science skills? So, but it's improving. So don't worry about that. So yeah, and definitely don't worry about that. Focus, as Felipe and you were mentioned, is focus on, if definitely I recommend you to know Python instead of R, but you don't worry. Actually, in my team, most of the data scientists works on Python, but we have one guy that works on R. So then the only problem is with our DevOps guy. So he needs to create a different Docker, like we are like following like a continuous deployment methodology, the way we create the models. So the poor guy needs to create like some path for the guy who is working on R, and the rest of the guys are working on Python, but it's not a problem. And yeah, so there are machine learning libraries on R. You can know machine learnings in also in Python. There are many different type of libraries. And yeah, you can focus only on one. Is a company is expecting or is requirement to like, you need to know everything. That's actually, it's I can say just ignore that company. They even don't know what he's doing. But probably I just know only few cases about that. It's mainly most of the companies right now know that they only need to, the guy needs to focus only on one thing. Even all the steps I told you. So there are, if like the team or the data science team already knows that, they only they even can say that the data scientists can focus only in one area. For example, they are people that is only focused on something called feature engineering. It's only actually I know one guy that is doing the PhD on and focus only on this area. It's very increasing. There are people that is focused on time series and time series libraries only. There are people that is focused on computer vision. There are people that is more focused on related to retail stores company. You know, so don't worry about that. Focus on one, and once you are ready, you can learn on other area. Don't be scared. Apply to the position. A good data science team knows that the data scientist cannot solve everything. So don't worry about that.
Thank you. Actually, do you remember I started by asking you how do you see the data science? Then I skipped. Maybe I shouldn't skip that question. So in your talk, I'm happy. First of all, like I'm not gonna go through our R, Python, war on data science. Anyway, the course was based on Python. I'm happy about that. But in your talk, Eric, you were saying a lot of things about like data scientists, data engineering. So we have data science, data engineer, data analysis, I don't know, machine learning engineer. So can you briefly, Eric, tell me what is the difference? How do you see the difference? Very briefly, like data science, data engineer, data analysis, or any other title.
Sure. The two main focus is data engineering and data science. So data scientists, what the data engineer focus is more on transforming the data and handle a large amount of data, and in a way that is possible to be consumed by a data scientist or by a business analyst or by anything else. So that's the only, so it's more related to big data. It's more, a data engineer actually needs to be focused more on SQL skills, on programming skills like Java, Python, Scala. That people needs to handle a large amount of data. They need to know about the different type of storage. So the data warehousing storage, a data lake storage, about batch stream processing. That is a data engineer. That is a data engineer. Mm-hmm. A data scientist, I think you already know what a data scientist is. But what I can say is a data scientist is someone that can create machine learning models. Well, can solve a problem, create a mathematics model using machine learning algorithms. Okay. So, and yeah, so the skills are different. They need to know about machine learning, about well, also it's important to know programming skills. Machine learning, mathematics, probability. So, and that's basically the way I see.
Okay, thank you.
May I complement that with just one comment? Of course. I think what Eric is saying is really great. What I would just add is that the bigger the organization, the clearer the separation in roles is, right? If, for example, I know that Couple is really serious about this. So they, as Eric said, you know, they have probably a very, very clear separations. Like you can have your data engineering guy or your feature engineering guy, and then your data scientist or your machine learning expert. When you work in a smaller company or in a part of a company where, you know, the data science area is small, then you know the lines start to blur. So for example, in a startup, if you work in a startup, you probably have to, you know, learn a lot of different roles, because there just won't be anyone else to help you, right? But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. But as Eric said, right, like I know people that know, you know, like computer engineering, and they know big data, and they know models, and they are dealing with clients. But these people, although they do exist, they are really, really rare, and they are very, very expensive. That's my experience.
Yeah, I totally agree.
By all means, become one.
Yeah, it should be very difficult, and I totally agree. The bigger the companies or the better they know what they do, is like the clearer is the differentiation between different roles. So they're not gonna ask you to do everything at the same time, but to be a data scientist, data engineer, machine learning expert, and everything. So as we're running out of time, I know I just asked them to give us like 20 minutes of their time. It's like already 40 minutes. I'm sorry about that. So, Felipe, any last word of wisdom for students? If they are, those are that are interested in this field, they want to enter this field, work on this in this industry. Anything you can recommend? For example, anything that you wish to know earlier when you were younger. You are still younger.
Sure. So there are two things, right, that I think it would be great if you can take home with you today. So the first thing is, what's most important is what you're trying to solve and why, not how. You know, that's the important part. Like, what value are you giving to someone? The technique is not valuable if you don't give something to someone, or give money or time or something. So really focus a lot on why you're doing what you're doing, and question that a lot. Even if the business comes and tells you we want this, you should question it even then, and make sure that that it makes sense, because otherwise your project will either fail or have a very low impact. And I've been there recently, and long time ago. It happens all the time. The other thing what I would say is, don't let the, I mean, do your research in models and things like that, but don't let that cloud your judgment. When you want to solve a problem, sometimes you need to invent something. I mean, if you should do some research every time, but sometimes your problem needs something special, and or something simple, or you know, if it, what I say is, if it works, it doesn't matter if the theory is nice or not, you know. So I'm a very pragmatic kind of guy, as you've probably figured by now. But that's what I would say, because some people, you know, like, I did some variation on some clustering analysis, and they said like, what's the technique? You know, I don't care. I invented it myself. Who cares? It solves the problem, right? Like, you know, I used my instincts and it works. Who cares, right? So like, don't throw away everything that's out there, but don't limit yourselves to an algorithm with a big name.
Thank you so much, Felipe. It's I think Felipe. Before I go back to Eric, I think Felipe needs to leave us. I mean, I guess he's busy. So thank you so much, Felipe, for giving us your time. I'm going to a little bit wait for Eric comments, but I'm telling you, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see you more in the future.
Sure. If you have questions, sure, we can have another session or email, whatever you want. It was nice to be here, but yeah, I really do have to run. So
thank you so much. It was great having you here.
Bye.
Bye. So Eric, sorry about that. He was, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I remember I told you just 20 minutes of your time, but it's taking longer. So can you share the same, I mean, any word of wisdom for students who want to enter this field, who want, I mean, anything based on your experience?
Yes. First, I like Felipe was telling us, we need to, some of the things you learn more. You learn more when you create or when you work on real problems. So I suggest you, if you are interested in this area, you can do experience like participating in some kind of contest or challenge. Actually, there's one here that I can send to Maddie more information if you are interested. There's something called Social Data Challenge. It's a kind of contest or challenge where you're trying to solve a social problem using using data science. So it's very interesting because that challenge is taken care by a community in Guadalajara. It's a data science community. So it's like during like it's like during 3 months, this community like organize some sessions, and they can show you how to start creating your model, start understanding the problem. So I just want to invite you to these kind of things so you can learn, you can get more experience on those type of contests or challenge. So I will send all the information to Maddie in case someone is interested. And so, and that's the things that I suggest you to do. So don't wait, you know, it's like sometimes I was feeling like, you know, I don't know everything. I need to know every machine learning model. I cannot do nothing with data science because I don't know everything. Don't wait for that. So just take a problem and try to solve a problem. So this will be a good experience if you take that experience. And if not, well, take other path, but try to do this type of exercises. So doing these type of exercises, you will learn a lot about data science.
Thank you so much, Eric. Of course, please, I appreciate it. Please share me the information. I'll pass it to the students. Thank you so much again for your time spending with us today. I don't know, I'm going to ask the students if anyone has any particular question, any doubt, anything you can ask. I stop. Or you can pass me your question. I can ask if you're feeling more comfortable like that, or. Okay, I'm not receiving anything. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate. I almost crossed all the questions that I was thinking to ask. I mean, it was all answered. Some of them by me asking, most of them by you commenting on it yourself. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. If there is no more question, I mean, no question from students, so I say goodbye to you, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ask me information so I can pass them over to the students. So if they are interested, they can join the community. To do it, I forgot to mention earlier, Eric is from Guadalajara. Felipe was from Mexico City.
Yeah, so thank you, Mai, for the invitation. So hope you see you later.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for joining us. Bye.